Hello, everyone. I am back with our Diary of St Faustina. Again, I apologize for not getting to it yesterday, but I the weekend was just was much more busier than I'm normally used to. So I was exhausted last. I just fell asleep. I remember nothing at all. So let us begin where we left off with the vow of obedience. The vow of obedience is superior to the first two. It is to tell the truth, at all cost, and it is more necessary because it forms and animates the monastic body. To what does the vow of obedience oblige us? By the vow of obedience, the religious promises to God to be obedient to his legitimate superiors in everything that will ordain in virtue of the rule. The vow of obedience makes the religious dependent on his superior in virtue of these rules for his whole life and in all his affairs. A religious commits a grave sin against the vow every time he disobeys an order given in virtue of obedience and of the rules. The virtue of obedience. The virtue of obedience goes further than the vow. It embraces the rules, the regulations, and even the counsels of the superiors. Is the virtue of obedience indispensable for a religious? The virtue of obedience is so indispensable to a religious that even if he were to perform good actions contrary to obedience, these would be evil and without merit. Can we sin gravely against the virtue of obedience? We can gravely we sin gravely when we scorn the authority of the order of the superior, or when the spiritual or temporal harm to the community results from our disobedience. What faults endanger the vow? To be prejudiced against the superior, or to harbor an antipathy for him, murmuring and criticism, tardiness and negligence. The degrees of obedience. Prompt and complete fulfillment. The obedience of the will, when the will persuades the intellect to submit to the advice of the superior. To facilitate obedience, St. Ignatius suggests, moreover, three means: always to see God in our superior, whoever he might be; to justify itself the order or advice of the superior; to accept each order as an order from God, without examining it or reflecting on it. General means humility. Nothing is difficult for the humble. My Lord, inflame my heart with the love for you, that my spirit may grow weary amidst the storms, the suffering, and the trials. You see how weak I am. Love can do all. A deeper knowledge of God and the terror of the soul. In the beginning, God lets himself be known as holiness, justice, goodness, that is to say, mercy. The soul does not come to know this all at once, but piecemeal in the flashes, that is to say, when God draws near, and this does not last long, because the soul could not bear such light. During prayer, the soul experiences flashes of this light, which make it impossible to pray as before. Try as it may to force itself to pray as I did before, all is in vain. It becomes completely impossible for it to continue to pray as it did before it received this light. This light, which has touched the soul, is alive within it, and nothing can either quench or diminish it. This flash of the knowledge of God draws the soul and enkindles its love for him. But the same flash at the same time allows the soul to know itself as it is. The soul sees its whole interior in a superior light, and it rises up alarmed and terrified. Still, it does not remain under the effects of terror, but it begins to purify itself, to humble and abase itself before the Lord. These lights become stronger and more frequent. The more the soul is crystallized, the more these lights penetrate it. However, if the soul has responded faithfully and courageously to these first graces, God fulfills it with his consolation and gives himself to it in a perceptible manner. At certain moments, the soul, as it were, enters into intimacy with God and greatly rejoices in it. It believes that it has already reached the degree of perfection destined for it, because its defects and faults are asleep within it, and this makes it that they are no longer exist. Nothing seems difficult for it. It is ready for everything. It begins to plunge itself into God and tastes the divine delights. It is carried across by grace and does not take account of the same fact that the trial and testing may come. And in fact, this state does not last long. Other moments will soon come. I should add here, however, that the soul will respond more faithfully to divine grace if it has a well informed confessor to whom it can confide in everything. We'll leave it there for today. We will be back tomorrow for more of the Diary of St. Faustina. I hope you all have a beautiful day. God bless you all. Be well, be safe, be kind to each other.